special town hall on tax reform bills.
It's a gathering of experts, including tax practitioners, politicians, journalists, economists, and their mission is to discuss and address some of the controversies that have greeted the 4 tax reform bills that have now scaled second reading at the Senate. Opening the floor is the man whose team produced the controversial tax bills, the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, and for the obtained time, he explains the objective of the bills.
There'll be exemption from withholding tax. Also for small businesses, they don't have to charge withholding tax, neither do they have to deduct it on their vendors. There'll be exemption for them in terms of deducting withholding tax from their vendors. They will not have to account for VAT when they invoice their customers. They will have the opportunity of simplified accounts that does not have to be audited to reduce the cost of doing business for them should they have to file returns.
According to him, rather than the opposition against the bills in some quarters, especially state governments, the states should actually embrace the bills because of what they stand to gain.
These bills will also allow states to enjoy tax exemption should they issue bonds. Today, federal government bond is tax exempt. State government bond is not tax exempt. These bills are trying to correct that inequity. We must recognize that this is a federation and we must empower this.
After that, there were interceptions from the panelists who all claimed to have gone through the entire bills before arriving at the decisions.
The issue of VAT, I think we might need to think about VAT going to 15% in medium term. To my mind, 7.5% VAT, I agree, is among the lowest. But when you look at our income capacity now, as a country, our GDP just lost 250% of its shares, from 400 billion to about 200 billion. No text to exchange rate. There's nothing the committee can do about that.
In my own just simple arithmetic, the people of Sokoto should be clapping and singing to the high heavens that now they have an opportunity for them to add value. The same thing with my state, Kano.
It was not all a pat on the back for Mr. Oyedele and his team, as some concerns were raised on the process of leading to the drafting of the bills.
Free zone community has a concern about that bill, and many people have not addressed this. Even you have not addressed it while explaining the work of the committee to the National Assembly. I want to state that while the intention of government and your committee to modernize the tax framework in Nigeria is salutary, I want to say to you that some sections of that bill, that is the Nigerian Tax Bill 2024, some sections that are in that bill are inimical to the survival of the Nigerian free zone scheme.
With more engagements expected to follow before the bills eventually become law, it is expected that the reservations about the bills will be laid to rest to pave the way for its implementation.
To chip in a few things, right?
But before today's town hall by Channels Television, the general impression among Nigerians is that the North is opposed to the bill because the utterances of some northern leaders. However, former Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara believes the North may miss a golden opportunity to improve the well-being of its people if it fails to embrace the tax reforms.
I've been in the National Assembly for 16 years, and I must say that I've seen very few bills that can be compared to the bills they produce in terms of quality, the originality of thought, and in terms of effect that we will have on our larger economic ecosystem. And honestly speaking, I don't begrudge noise in a democracy. As a matter of fact, the more noise your democracy generates, the more functional it is. The only problem is if you allow the noise to degenerate into violence, that is where you have a problem. And then we sit down and look at some of these major objections that are coming from across some of our leaders in the North and some of our brothers. So let's look at some of these objections that have been raised. I will address the question of leadership. And my appeal to all of us here, we are all leaders. We should remove the cap of regionalism, the cap of sectionalism, cap of religion, and put on the cap of leadership. Because that is what will resolve the current problems that we have.
Mr. Dogara goes ahead to explain how the current administration has demonstrated that it has the interest of the North at heart.
I want to remind us that the president has done something that is significant. And in my lifetime, if he can pursue this to the end, it will be that there's no northern leader of my lifetime that has done what the president has done for the North. And I will tell you, it's the creation of the livestock ministry. This is the global business around that. The global market size of dairies, of beef. In the next 3 years, we'll rise to about $2.5 trillion. You can Google it. So if in the North we're able to organize ourselves in such a way that we can corner just 5% of this global market size of dairies and beef, I tell you, that gives us $250 billion. We don't need VAT from any state in Nigeria to survive. The North can survive on its own. We are the most endowed part of Nigeria. And don't joke about it. If you doubt, find out from Australia how much they are raking from just mining minerals. There's gold everywhere in the North. We have all the resources. We can survive.